Hello, my fellow readers. This is Dark Symphony 777 back with another fanfiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story. And finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, Mega Man. Who loves Mega Man? I remember playing Mega Man when I was a kid. And then trying to find out me to find Dr. Wowie. Oh, it's kind of sad that was like my first Mega Man game. That and Legends on the Nintendo 64. Those are the two first Mega Man games I ever played. And then I got Mega Man X4, which is amazing. But so, let's just get into it. So, I'm not just going to review one story today. I'm actually going to review 5. Wait, 5? Yes, 5! All in one video. Granted, there is a 6th story in this series, but the 6th story is not only like almost as long as like all the other 5 stories combined, but it does its own thing enough that I feel comfortable enough that I can easily just make a video on that one story separately. But these 5 are kind of connected, all on the same tissues. So the stories. So it's a 5-part novelization of Mega Man's 3 to 7. Why those ones specifically, I will never know. All written by Megas 523. They are all Mega Man stories. So let's just get into it because there's a lot of ground to cover for this video. So first off, in order to figure out how we're going to do things, we have to figure out what are these novelizations of? They're novelizations of Mega Man's 3 to 7. Like I said, just clearing that up. I know I like to repeat myself, but this one because of how it's going to be structured, it has to be important. So I'm basically going to be doing each one, mostly just the plot separately by itself, separate in terms of the story themselves, and then everything will be together. So let's start with the plot of Mega Man 3. So the plot of Mega Man 3 has Wily escape, basically plead sanity, and he and Dr. Light start building a robot called Gamma. If you don't know the lore of the Mega Man franchise, because the Mega Man franchise is really weird in terms of like timeline. Because you have like two completely different timelines. You have the first one being the classic series, then the X series, then the Zero series, then the ZX series, which is actually my favorite. Mega Man ZX is actually my favorite game in the entire franchise. And far in the distance, you have Mega Man Legends. And then in the alternate timeline, you have Battle Network and Star Force. But everything here is in the classic. Like I said, the only thing I'm just kind of confused about with the plot line is why the author didn't do the first 2 Mega Mans. The series starts at 3. Like everything is established in Mega Man 3. I don't get why the author did that, but let's digress. So Wily pleads sanity. Like he fakes being sane. He leaves. Like I'm going to be spoiling a lot, mainly because it's a novelization. They kind of can afford to be spoiled a little bit. Then Wily and Dr. Light, they said, "Oh, we don't know when Mega Man. There's going to be a point where Mega Man just starts, falling apart. He doesn't want to fight. So we're going to build our own robot named Gamma, which is the ultimate defense robot to stop robot rebellions." And then another robot rebellion happens right before then. And then Mega Man has to go beat up the Robot Masters. And then it turns out it wasn't Wily that did it. It turned out it was a separate robot called Doc Man, who was very, very kind of psychotic because his sanity was broken to a point where he broke the laws of Asimov. For those who don't know, Asimov, the laws of robotics was a thing made by some guy named Asimov. I don't know that much about details. All I know is there's 3 main rules. The first one is A robot cannot cause harm to a human either through their action or inaction. The second rule is robots must obey their masters unless it conflicts with the first law. And the third law is they must be able to defend themselves unless it comes in confliction with the second or first law. That's basically how it works. And Dockman, he kind of, because Wily abandoned him, everyone abandoned him, they all thought he was dead. And then his sanity shattered and just completely broke all three rules, and so now they're like gone from his head. So he becomes like a psychotic murdering robot, and then Megaman has to go after Dockman. Dockman gets defeated. Wily turns on and says, "Oh no, I didn't have anything to do it, but I'm still evil!" Ha 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 ha! Because it's freaking Wily. Because it's Wily, of course. There's like his shtick. And so Mega Man goes after Wily, defeats Gamma. That's Mega Man 3. Mega Man 4. A roboticist named Dr. Sergei Kozak creates some robot masters to basically attack people, but he basically orders them, don't kill them. Like, you can literally just, if you want to play card, you want to just keep them doing anything. Like, there's even like a little joke when Mega Man goes after Brightman, and it literally shows Brightman and some of the hostage actually just playing cards. And it's like, got any threes? Dang it, Brightman! So, because after the time, why, it turns out Wily basically kidnapped Kozak's daughter to basically blackmail Kozak into building the robots to take over the world, and he's like very stressed. He basically deliberately gimped out on the original boss, on the fortress bosses, so that way, because he really doesn't want to kill. He really doesn't want to kill Mega Man. He's just very saddened over the fact that he can't really, and it kind of brings like a stalemate with, at the end of that, where Sergei's mech is like completely destroyed, and and Mega Man they're literally standing on the other side of the arena, and then Mega Man is like pointing the gun, but then he's like, I don't know if like hitting it anymore will actually just destroy it and kill Sergei, but Sergei can't do anything because his mech is like destroyed enough that he can't really move it. And then they go, we're at an impasse then. And then here comes Proto Man with his daughter, who Wily kidnapped, and then Wily just goes beats up Wily again, rinse repeat. Mega Man 5. This one's kind of complicated. I honestly think the novelization of Mega Man 5 is the best one. So what happens is Proto Man is actually the villain, because we all know it's Wily, who kidnaps Dr. Light. And he says, well, I'm doing this for Robot Rice because in the story, he meets a cut man. Like a cut man who, he doesn't have the scissors, he doesn't have anything, he just like, And then a bunch of people actually destroy Cutman because a lot of people don't like robot masters. And basically what would cause Proto Man to do the rebellion, because he wants robots to have rights. And so, Mega Man goes after Proto Man. It turns out it's not Proto Man, it's a robot named Darkman. And Mega Man stops him. Then it turns out it was Wily the entire time because I wanted revenge. I found out that Proto Man was basically the one fucking me over the last two rebellions. So I did this to fuck him over. Aha! But Mega Man beats Wily, so on. Mega Man 6 has the Royal World Robot Tournament where a bunch of roboticists create robot masters and basically fight out. Mysterious billionaire named Mr. X shows up, kidnaps the robot master, said, I was the guy who was financing Dr. Wily. But now Dr. Wily failed me enough, and I killed him. And now, but now you gotta fight me. And then it turned out it was Dr. Wily, and he killed Mr. X. And I said, no. And now Wiley's like going mad, and he's like kind of going, he's going off the deep end. And that was that. That's it. Mega Man 7 has the introduction of Bass. Bass is just like playing mind games with Mega Man. Number 7 is kind of the complicated one because that one actually has a clear plot that we see, like cutscenes, stuff like that. Otto is built. Otto just hangs out with Mega Man, stuff like that. But it starts with the 4 Robot Masters. They're kind of not buying it. It's like, why there are like only 4 Robot Masters? And then we get another 4. And then, of course, this whole thing with Bass. Like, hey, I'm a new guy. I was built not too long ago. I'm just trying to figure out who the fuck built me. It's like, did you build me? Did you build me? And it's like Mega Man gets duped. And so it's all them because, like, Bass is like, Dr. Wily built me. And then, he just like, he's not really that bad of a guy. And, he's just consumed by finding out that, Mega Man may not be that bad. But he's still, like, he kind of following Wily's first law. So you gotta protect Wily at all times, even if you have to kill other people. And the story, and then it just continues with Mega Man going after Wily kind of going, again, very slippery slope. The story also has a lot of other details and stuff like that. But that's the main point of the 5 stories. There is, being a novelization, there is like new stuff, like the whole thing with United Nations. There is, during, like, for example, Mega Man 4, there's an entire part of the story where it has Proto Man actually fighting off the Robot Masters from Mega Man 3, who were actually protecting Cossack's daughter. So he basically rescues her and basically, just starts like trying to like get her to civilization, so that way they can get to Cossack's castle to give her to Cossack. It's like, here you go. Mega Man 3, there's a whole thing with Breakman, aka Proto Man, and Gamma, and like even meets like some new friends. Was like a UN anti-robot guy named Vinkus, who was basically like, I don't like robots, but you, the Mega Man, we can tolerate. And a British professor, and of course Mr. X. Mr. X actually appears as his actual character, hence why I said in 6, Mr. X, I was the guy who backed Dr. Wily, but it turned out Wily killed Mr. X, and there's a lot more details in terms, to the point where it's a very clear dichotomy of the stories, because you have the original content, the original parts of the plot, which are actually really good. Like, there's a lot of anything that's new that adds onto the story is really great. On the other side, and this is where it hurts. This is honestly where it hurts. All the parts of the story that are basically adapting actual parts of the game are horrible. They're just completely horrible. And instead of adapting the levels in like 3D-ish ways, like, here's, like Mega Man going after them and trying to get lost, and then he fights the boss and stuff like that. It's he literally somehow writes it in a way that it's still 2D. Like, here's Mega Man, he's going on some platforms, he's jumping down, he's climbing upstairs, he's going on these wacky things. And then it gets even worse when they fight the Robot Masters, because for the most part, the Robot Masters, they basically talk to Mega Man a lot, and then they fight. And so how he writes it is that the Robot Masters have no creativity, by having them not only do their exact what they do in the game with no creativity, but also makes it read like he's just he's still writing them in like their 2D models. That is just completely confusing. It's like, yeah, it makes some sense. And then, but what's even worse is you have Mega Man and you write him like he's still in he's in 3D. That makes absolutely zero sense. It's so weird when I'm reading the parts where it's adapting the levels and the enemies and the bosses, and it's complete trash. With only very, very few exceptions. But then you get to the non-adapted parts, and you realize this is actually pretty good. It has good characters. It has a good overarching story to connect the parts and kind of tie everything together. It has good pacing. It doesn't overstretch itself to the point of absurdity. It keeps a nice pace to kind of get you back into the Mega Man side of things. But then you have the Mega Man parts, which are just completely horrible. And you realize, why is this? Because not all the Mega Man parts are adapted badly. There are very, very few Mega Man parts that are actually adapted well. Like the battle between Mega Man and Proto Man, and both in Mega Man 3 and Mega Man 7, because Proto Man actually uses the weapons of Mega Man 3 in both situations, and they basically just go off on each other. They're like, oh, you want it? Let's see who's better. And in Mega Man 7, it's like, hey, you're stressed. I basically want to see if you're ready for Wily, because I sent something off with the bass thing. It's like, let's do this. And then, of course, there's Wily in Mega Man 7 and also Mega Man 5 because of psychological reasons. It was weird because I can tell that this author has talent. The author can write, but it's such a weird thing to see the actual adapted parts. The stuff that people come to read these stories to see, and see just shock shit in that regard. And yet, having the only parts of the story being good, the original stuff, like all the original stuff with like Klinka and Sergei and Proto Man and all that stuff. It's weird. It's just, I don't know what went through the author's mind doing this. Like with going through like the Fortress Guardians and of course the Robot Master rematches, it kind of makes sense for him for those to be rushed through. I can see why, but it makes zero sense to have that happen with the main levels. I'm just completely confused. It's weird reading those parts, and I'm like left like, why is this so bad, but everything else is so good? And oh my god, let's see what happened after. What happens next? There's also the entire subplot with Darkman, because Darkman does show up multiple times despite being an antagonist exclusively in 3. He does show up again in 5, and then he shows up in 6 and 7 as sort of like a Grim Reaper. He shows up as like the robot Grim Reaper. And then there's that whole thing with him and Mega Man throughout those 3 stories. I thought that was nice. There's also there's like a lot of separate plot points of like Light deciding to call Mega Man X in honor of Mr. X, who they were friends with, as sort of like an honor for how much he put towards like the robot museums and stuff like that. In terms of characters, you have a lot of characters. You have Mega Man. He's very honestly, Mega Man, Roll, Proto Man, and Light are kind of the same. They do have differences, like Dr. Light is like the very old wise man. Roll and Blues are actually the wisecracks. They actually like do the most dumb. They say the most dumb shit. Proto-Man does the most dumb shit. And Mega Man is Mega Man. He doesn't want to fight, but he's kind of given no choice. There is an overarching theme with psychology in that he's trying to separate Mega Man from Rock. It's like they're like two different personalities, and that's the whole reason why Doc Man's there, because it's like Doc Man's whole purpose in Mega Man's 6 and 7 is basically saying you're going to have to kill Wily because then so many people are gonna die, and that's basically it. It's like, like, we know you're gonna break the first. Like, I know you're gonna break the first law of robotics, and when that time comes, you have to kill Wily. It's like, but it's robotics. No. You have to do it, otherwise, everyone you know and yourself will die. You want to deal with that? And it will scar the entire human race for generations. Like generations. Like, that's actually a pretty cool character trait with like Mega Man in the later half, this like 5 with like especially 6 and 7 having to come with copes of having to deal with the idea that he has to kill Wily and conflicting with himself that he's still a robot, but he might have no choice but to do it. But he's a robot, and he does it, and he wants to stick to his morals, but Wily will just do much more damage. It's a really neat idea that was very well done. Then of course there's other characters like Mr. X, who is basically like a person who was part of the Third World War. He basically sold weaponry, and he was a black arms dealer, and he's like, I'm kind of repenting for that, so he's basically just giving his money. He's the guy who financed the building of Gamma. He's the guy who built the robot museum that you see in Mega Man 7 in these stories and stuff like that. There's also Kozak. Kozak is basically a straight-laced guy. He's very overprotective of Kalinka, his daughter. Kalinka is like a very hard-headed girl who gets tired of being coddled by her daddy, and also coddled by Feral Man. There is Senator Vinkus, who again, the Japanese senator, who starts off being very, very hateful towards robots and Mega Man and all that, but then he starts warming up with Roll and Mega Man and Proto Man because he realizes that maybe these robots not so bad, and stuff like that. And of course, you got a British roboticist who was basically, just kind of there. He's probably the weakest character because he doesn't have anything to really stand out. Despite him being in like all 5 stories, he's like the only one who doesn't, except for Mega Man 7. Like most of them don't really show up in 7. And 3 to 6, he just doesn't stand out. And then finally, Dr. Wily. In this story, like the whole reason why Wily gets mad is teleporter. He screwed up his mind, and as the story gets on, he kind of slowly loses sanity to himself because he's like, I just want to take over the world. Now he's basically just using the world as a front to perpetually try to mentally kill Mega Man. It's like, I want Mega Man to suffer. I want Mega Man to break. Because I know he will never have the guts to kill me, no matter what. And I'm just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it and trying to and claim I'm taking over the world. But I just want Mega Man to die and suffer as much as possible for what he did to me. And that kind of like completely warps his brain, warps his mind, and I really love the psychological aspect of Wily in these stories. It makes them simultaneously much more threatening and really scary because the unpredictability of him, but at the same time, kind of sympathetic because it was more what he's doing was basically at the end of the day caused by an accident. It was caused by something out of his control. And that's all what the characters like. Yeah, all the robot masters, they all have different characteristics. They have like different variations of the same characteristics. Like the guy who wants to help, the robot, the guy who is reluctant, who's like accepting that he's gonna die, pessimist, over the top, braggadocious, all that sort of thing. But all of them are done. But they're just bland. Like when the most character developed robot master out of all of them was Pharaoh Man, simply because he showed up most, then you got something wrong. Grammar errors, there's nothing wrong with the grammar errors. Same thing with the writing. The writing is probably the best part. Like I said, it very much has two different plots. Like it has the canon stuff and the non-canon stuff, and the writing kind of reflects that because the canon stuff is actually kind of very condensed, like incredibly condensed. It's like you could have a chapter and like 80% of the story is like literally the non-canon stuff, and like the bottom 20% is like the canon stuff. And even then, that's variable between the story and also the character, the area. Like he puts more focus in like certain bosses more than others. It's really, really weird. Like I said, going to be a very, very theme with all 5 of these stories. Pacing. I don't think the pacing worked for this story. If only because all of the non-canon stuff was fine, but all the canon stuff was way too quick. I think I said this before. My mind scatters and broken. All the canon stuff is the problem. It has the pacing problem because you would expect there to be a couple chapters dedicated to each area, with like Mega Man having to explore this area, fight this robot master, the robot master kind of showing off the abilities, but combined with the fact that the author, from the looks of things, restricts himself so much on the actual levels, the pacing comes off as way too fast for its own good, and completely just destroys any immersion. Like the non-canon stuff, I'm immersed. And then the moment we get to like Mega Man going to a level, that immersion's just gone because the author just zooms through a level so fast. I get it because the levels are, you want to adapt the levels, but you don't have. But the way he did it in terms of pacing is he literally just adapted them one for one, and it was really, really bad. Cause I get it. The first novelization was around 2003. Nothing I can do. It was a long time ago. There's literally nothing happening. It also does make me question why he also didn't novelize Mega Man 8, because at the end of Mega Man 7, he does show up in Mega Man in the Skull Fortress of Mega Man 8. It's weird, but there's just so much untapped potential with the story. And in terms of, and going back to the pacing, that's what really hinders the story from being true, these stories from being truly great, because the story is very much carried by the non-canon stuff to the point where you might as well not even call this a novelization. That is what hurts to say, because there's so much change, but at the same time, the author wants to stick so heavily to what's canon that he kept shooting himself in the foot by writing the canon stuff the way it was, by rushing it, by just not giving enough time to get us used to the area, and the robot masters, and the weapon. It got very repetitive, and that also came to play with the robot master, because everything just came, because even like Mega Man's character is like, I've been through this enough. I don't care. Boom, boom, rope. Okay, switch weapons. Shit, it worked. Done. And it literally got worse as the story went on. The only time it actually got slightly better was Mega Man 7, because 7 had like different weapons that gave weapons different properties, and also the fact, with like the robot masters being split into groups of 4, so there was like a lot of strategy and how I'm playing with them. But it's still, for the most part, it still was the same. And that really hurts, because I don't know why, but it seems to be like a very, very bad habit of Mega Man novelization. Because every time when I read a Mega Man novelization, it's all the same. All the non-canon stuff is good, but whenever the author does do something involving the canon, it completely falls apart, because instead of 3D'ing the levels to make them more dynamic and building on the world, you basically just said, here's a level, Mega Man in 3D, going in the level in the way that it's supposed to be, instead of like adapting it, doing different things with it. It's really clumsy. It's really shoddy. I have read better novelizations on this channel, so it's not like you don't need to adapt these things one for one. There is no reason to do it. Where was I? Oh, yes. I know there's a lot more I want to say on this story, on these stories. I think that's better said to be waiting for the final story, which is basically kind of a bridge between the classic series and Mega Man X. I want to at least read that one before I kind of get my final judgment on the entire series as a whole. But as it stands right now, stories have a lot of good about them. But they're a very, very clear slap in the face to anyone who's fan of novelizations, because the parts that are you're supposed to really like, because the whole point of a novelization is adapting the parts of the story into word form and do it in a way that makes the story still make sense and all that jazz. And these parts are just not good. It makes it really hard to say whether or not I recommend this story or not, because there's a lot of good with the story. There's a lot of really good storytelling with like a lot of psychological aspects. So, with Mega Man having to come with the conclusion that he may have to kill Wily, and him struggling to figure out whether or not to do it. There's a lot of good characters. The non-canon stuff, there is a lot of entertainment. Like, I really did like the part, like, for example, there's a part in the Mega Man 7 novelization where, when Bass reveals his true colors, he doesn't really attack Roll and Dr. Light. The worst he does with Roll is basically just put some cuffs on her, toss her out the window, and then just basically just slightly shoves Dr. Light, and then just puts a table on, like a steel table on him. And then, he just basically just starts trashing stuff, like throwing stuff and trashing it. And then he walks outside, and Ro is like completely furious. And then basically Ro is like furious enough that she actually like swings back and then just clocks Bass across the face with her hands still in the cuffs, because her sorrow caused her to want to voluntarily break the third law. Because she knows that doing this while still cuffed puts her at risk of of causing her to like short out and circuit. And there was just a lot of entertainment value. But man, the parts that are supposed to be novelized, that are supposed to be good, which are the main draw of novelizations, they are bad. They are irredeemably bad. And so this comes to a case where the difference is so great, ignore anything you hear in the background, that I don't know whether to recommend it or not, because this will be a case where it's up to either you like it or you don't.
I feel so bad for him because he thinks that he has to live up to everybody's expectations because there's some fake fans out there or like he's called like the
in my opinion, if I had to recommend it, I would recommend all of them except for maybe 6. 6 I wouldn't recommend. 3 to 5 and 7 I would, because they do have a lot of good going on about it. But 6 is just basically taking all the bad aspects and just magnifying it to 11. And it's just a really weird scenario with like recommending the story, because you don't know, because I can easily see some people saying, "Oh, these stories are trash. These stories are trash." I can see that. I can see that because of how bad the actual adapted stuff is. The only thing carrying these stories is the non-adapted stuff, the new stuff that the author adds.
Where do you think he's from? America?
And all that. So would favorite part? Okay. Favorite part of the story would be the fight. Would actually have to be two parts. The first one is the final chapter of the novelization of Megaman 4, where Kalinka's basically in a hospital bed, and she's it's night, and she basically successfully guesses that Proto Man is outside the window, and so the whole part is just basically Kalinka and Proto Man just simply talking. And it was a very, very emotional scene of like Proto Man questioning his morality, questioning does he still he wants to be free, referencing a old poem called "The King and the Nightingale," but he kind of twisted. He does twist it around, but the sentimentality is like he feels locked up. He feels like he wants to be free, but then he realizes that as much as he likes hanging out with Megaman and Roll and Dr. Light, there's one other person he really likes to hang out with as well, and that's Kalinka herself, because he found a very special fondness with her, which is why he's saying goodbye to her separately rather than just randomly saying that. And it was very sappy. It was very emotional. I thought it was very well done, and that's it. The other part was actually during the novelization of Mega Man 5. So, honestly, when it came to the novelization, because this other part was just such a swerve that I wasn't expecting it. So, when Mega Man goes through Proto Man's castle, he fights these robots called Darkmen. And when he fights the main Darkman, he basically, they kind of tangle, they fight, and Mega Man comes out on top. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Mega Man, it's gonna continue to Wily Bot, and then it's gonna end. And I noticed literally the chapter's not far from finished. It's like, is it gonna do the entire half of the Wily stuff now? And then Mega Man, turns around, sees that Dark Man is still alive, and it turns out it was really Dark Man from Mega Man 3. who's brought back to life and basically wants to fight Megaman one last time. And so he basically takes like, because Darkman has like these plasma shields that basically like can rotate. He actually shoves them in his arms, makes swords, and then he literally makes a big illusion showing all the previous robot masters he's defeated in like wretched states, like half destroyed states. And so he's trying to basically help, in a weird sort of way, help Mega Man, saying you have to learn to separate them. You can't just be one person. Mega Man and Rock have to be two different people. And so Mega Man eventually overcomes, realizes that he has to separate them, and Darkman stops fighting. And he basically said, this whole fight was just me wanting to help you. And so he's like, I don't want to speak to Mega Man, I want to speak to Rock. And so Mega Man takes off the helmet. And then him and Darkman just go to like one of the edges of the arena because the whole area burned down. And it's basically sweat. And they stare out, they sit down, and they watch the sun. They watch the sun rising, and they talk. And they talk about everything that, kind of catching up on things. There's a little snarkiness, but the whole point was Darkman's feeling like, I'm not, when Wily bit me, I still didn't have, like, the 3 laws were broken. It's like, but no one, and I know, no one is going to want me. I'm a dead man walking. But I did all this because I wanted to help you. And I wanted some kind of closure to try and redeem myself as much as I can, knowing that, I'm gonna die. And even make a joke about his roller skates. Like, roller skates, yes, future weapon of murderers everywhere. And so they talk about how Darkman mentions how I've been to the afterlife. It was actually better than I expected. I was even offered a job, which was him being the robot Grim Reaper. And it was very emotional. I wasn't expecting the fight with Darkman to actually be expanded on, because, with how everything in terms of the novelization was panning out, I thought, going into that part, it was just going to be Mega Man fights Darkman, Darkman fights Mega Man, Darkman loses, Mega Man moves on. Having this entire second phase and then just the emotional thing of Darkman admitting that, he did all that. The second part of the fight was just, I wanted to help you. And because sooner or later you're going to have to kill Wily. And realizing his own mortality, realizing that he's literally a zombie sort of thing, and there's no reason for him to be alive. And and even the ending of that part was very, very emotional, because he's like, I'm gonna go my own way. And so he literally stands up, he turns around, he wishes Mega Man luck, and then he jumps off the building while using the plasma skills to, like, completely cut himself off, and then the plasma things kind of land and make a homemade gravestone. I thought that was very, very cool. And it's really the reason why I think the Mega Man 5 novelization is the best out of all of them. And it was very, very well done. I really liked what the author did with all this and everything. But I can't then yet Mega Man 6, which was complete trash. But then I'm not a big fan of Mega Man 6 either. And then Mega Man 7, of course. And that's pretty much it. That's my review on 5 novelizations. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.